how do you feel about trade and repealing NAFTA and some of the bleeding of American jobs overseas? How would you turn things around?
Can you all hear the question? You need me to repeat it? Okay, you couldn't hear it. Okay. Basically, the question was, you're a UAW member.
Yes, I am.
And I want to speak to that too. But the question is, I mentioned ending poverty. He's saying a good job is one of the best ways to end poverty. What are you going to do about NAFTA? What do you believe about the bleeding of American jobs overseas? That's essentially what the question was. Well, I want to say first about the issue of unions. I'm very proud of the fact that since the last election, I've been all over this country helping organize workers into unions. I've walked picket lines with workers. I have helped organize. I have stood in bad weather, both cold and hot, to help workers who are union members. The most important anti-poverty movement in American history is the organized labor movement, and America needs to hear that. They need to understand that. These jobs that you're referring to, which I will speak to, these jobs you're referring to, what a lot of Americans seem to have forgotten is these great manufacturing jobs weren't great jobs for the union. It was the union that made them great jobs. It was the union that created good pay, good benefits, and pension. It helped build the middle class in this country. So I think it's first important that we have a president who recognizes that and is willing to say it publicly and educate America, because I worry that because a lot of Americans don't, today, particularly young people, don't really have any idea what a union is or what they do or what the historical importance is. So I think that's number one. I was against NAFTA. What I thought about NAFTA turned out to be true. It was standardless. You know, there was no serious environmental standards, no labor standards, no meaningful way, if they'd been there, to enforce them. I think we've gotten into this debate about free trade versus fair trade. What America wants is smart trade. We want to trade in a way that gives American workers a chance. You know, I think our workers can compete with anybody in the world as long as they have a chance. And that's what we've not seen in these trade agreements. And so we can go through all of them. But the bottom line is these trade agreements should have environmental protections. They should have environmental standards. They should have labor standards, and they should have a very serious enforcement mechanism in the text of the agreement, in the main body of the trade agreement. Because that's the only way to do trade in a way that makes sense. It makes sense not just for us, by the way, but for the rest of the world. Because otherwise, it's just all a race to the bottom, you know. And so that's my basic view about this. And I do think, though, that in addition to that, we have to. I mentioned earlier this thing about changing the way we use energy. I think we can create manufacturing jobs. For example, wind turbine plants. We can create manufacturing jobs that ought to be good union jobs, by the way, in changing the way we use energy in this country. And we can put those plants in places where jobs have been lost. You know, for me in North Carolina, I watched, you know, I hear some politicians on both sides of the aisle talk about this trade issue. I saw it in my father. This is not abstract for me. My father worked at a mill all his life. Some of you might remember I'm the son of a mill worker. I've gotten where I don't say it in my speeches anymore. But the mill that my father worked in closed, and I saw what it did not just to him, but what it did to the community. And so this is a very, very personal issue for me. And I think America has not only have we not done our trade agreements right, we've not been there for the families and the communities that have been devastated by this. I mean, good, hard-working people who built this country, made America what it is, and then, you know, at the age of 55, they lose their job. They have no idea what they're. These are people with pride, dignity. You know, they worked hard all their lives, and we've not been there for them. We have to be there for them. So I think on all those fronts, that's what we are.